Kayla had always found the click-clack of her heels against polished tile oddly reassuring. There was always a destination, a plan. Not today. Today, the sterile white corridors of the Axion Embarkation Centre stretched endlessly, and the heels that were typically her style just ended up hurting her feet. It had been weeks of this. Weeks of bureaucratic runaround of forms, requests, and special permissions as she tried to access the infamous Axion Zoo of rare specimens. Kayla finally stopped, her annoyance winning over any sense of professional decorum. "Silax!" she called out. Her translator band converted her English to the soft, trilling chimes of Axion speech. The effect was always jarring. A tall Axion rounded the corner, his eyes widening slightly in what might have been a surprise. They resembled giant, elegant insects with shimmering exoskeletons and delicate antennae. Silax had always been polite, but his feathery antennae twitched in barely suppressed irritation. "Kayla, good to see you. I wasn't expecting you today." He gestured vaguely down the hall. "We are moving some rather sensitive exhibits. Perhaps another time would be—" "No!" Kayla's voice was sharper than she'd intended. "Look, Silax, I've jumped through every hoop. I am this close to getting access to the zoo. I just need to know what else you want from me." Silax sighed, antennae drooping. "Truthfully, Kayla, I want you to give up. Even if I grant you permission, the Board of Overseers will rescind it. Humans, they unsettle too many Axions." He spread two of his 4 hands in a placating gesture. That, more than any form or delay, brought Kayla up short. Fear prickled beneath her frustration. On Earth, she was just a journalist. But here, they saw her as a monster. Silax must have sensed her energy shift. "It's not about you personally, Kayla, it's your very being. Humans have too many emotions, blunt features, and forward-facing eyes like predators. You trigger millennia-old instincts." He paused. "There have been incidents in the past." Kayla shivered despite the temperature-controlled environment. "But that's the point, isn't it? To learn? To build bridges?" Her voice was unsteady, a stark contrast to her usual assertive tone. Silax's antennae twitched again, this time seeming thoughtful. "Perhaps. You are more persistent than most of your kind." "Is that a compliment?" Kayla tried to inject some levity. Silax offered no smile, but his eyes showed a hint of respect. "Let's make a deal. You take a limited tour, with minimal interaction with other Axions. If you don't cause a disruption, if you can control your—" "My predator instincts," Kayla finished for him, a wry twist to her lips. "Indeed. If you can, I'll consider arguing your case to the board." A wave of something like elation washed over Kayla. It was a slim chance, but it was a chance. "Deal," she said, holding out her hand. Silax hesitated briefly, then carefully clasped her hand with 2 of his own. His exoskeleton was cool and surprisingly smooth to the touch. It was the first real point of contact she'd had with an Axion since her arrival. "Follow me, then," the Axion said, already turning away. "And please, try to walk a little more softly. Loud noises. They tend to agitate the specimens." The Axion Zoo was nothing like Kayla had expected. No harsh cages, no barred enclosures. Instead, there were vast, carefully climate-controlled swaths of simulated habitat, lush mini-jungles, shimmering crystal caverns, and what looked like an entire miniature ocean in a domed expanse. It was breathtakingly beautiful. And empty. "Where are they?" Kayla asked, bewildered. Silax pointed one delicate hand towards a tangle of phosphorescent vines. "Up there," he trilled. 2 beady yellow eyes peered out at them, instantly retreating as Kayla gasped and stumbled backward. From that point, the creatures revealed themselves, sinuous shapes clinging to cave ceilings. These deceptively adorable puffballs scuttled into burrows just as she thought she could catch a closer look. "Why are they hiding?" Kayla asked, frustration warring with fascination. "You are a walking, talking apex predator," Silax stated simply. "Most of these creatures come from worlds without anything comparable. They see you, and they see death." His voice was soft, laced with something akin to pity. He continued to lead her through the simulated habitats. Kayla caught glimpses of the specimens, Some bizarre, some beautiful, all terrified of her. Every instinct screamed at her to soften her movements and lower her voice to a whisper. Still, those same instincts prickled with an uncomfortable mixture of anger and shame. As they progressed, a shimmering curtain of light signified a habitat boundary. Beyond it was a dark area, the dimness giving way to a strange, pearlescent glow. Kayla gasped as shapes detached themselves from the ceiling, leathery wings outstretched, beady eyes gleaming in the gloom. They circled above her warily, their forms sleek and almost bat-like, silhouetted against the luminescent walls. The beating of their wings was a soft, rhythmic sound filling the space. Silex chuckled, the trilling sound barely audible over the soft flapping of wings. Fear of the air as well. Your kind truly is the epitome of danger, it seems. Kayla shivered. It wasn't just the cool temperature, but a visceral reminder of how utterly other these creatures saw her. Yet, a flicker of curiosity edged out her unease. They almost look like bats, she murmured, remembering the night dwellers of Earth. Exiting the twilight habitation, they entered a space thrumming with energy. A vast dome housed a cylindrical aquarium teeming with life. Bioluminescent fish darted amongst towering kelp-like structures, painting streaks of blue and green through the water. Creatures with too many eyes and far too many tentacles pulsed lazily with the artificial currents, their translucent bodies catching the light in bizarre ways. The air hummed with a faint electrical buzz, and the scent of artificial seawater filled Kayla's nostrils. Even in the deep, they know vigilance, Silax commented as Kayla stared, transfixed. A monstrous armoured creature with pincers the size of her head scuttled across the artificial seafloor, sending smaller fish scattering into the kelp-like structures. A ripple of unease crawled up Kayla's spine as the creature paused, eye stalks swivelling as if sensing their presence outside the tank. Kayla couldn't help her morbid wonder. Would they react the same way to her if she was submerged in that tank? The thought was both chilling and oddly thrilling. "It's so fascinating how all these creatures react to a human," she finally whispered as they entered a new habitat, an arid expanse of red sand and twisted rock formations. Silax didn't reply immediately, instead studying her with a curious gaze. "Perhaps," he admitted at last. "However, I do sense progress. You are becoming aware of how your very presence causes distress. That is a form of understanding." Kayla was about to retort when a flicker of movement in the rocks above caught her eye. She held her breath. One blazing yellow eye slowly opened, the slit-like pupil fixed on her. Then it blinked, and the creature, a sleek reptile with iridescent scales, slowly uncoiled itself from the rocks and slithered into the open. The reptile was giant, easily twice Kayla's height, as it raised itself on sinuous coils. Kayla instinctively stepped back, hand going to her translator band, as if it could offer any protection. Yet the creature wasn't advancing. Its enormous head tilted, the yellow eye blinking with an unsettling curiosity and wariness. "It's not running," Kayla breathed, a wonder in her voice. "No," Silax agreed. "That one is a Zenora. They hail from a world of relentless predators. It sees you and recognizes something familiar, even if alarming." The Zenora slithered closer, its scales shimmering under the artificial sunlight. It was horrifying, a creature ripped from nightmares. Yet it didn't attack, even as Kayla stood frozen, too stunned and strangely fascinated to turn away. It dipped its head with glacial slowness, coming nearly eye level with Kayla. Its jaw opened, revealing rows of needle-sharp teeth that could tear her apart. But instead of a roar, it sounded like stones softly grinding together. The translator band flickered, then gave up, sputtering static in her ear. Surprisingly, Silax stepped closer. He spoke softly in Axian, a language Kayla didn't understand. The tone was too low for the translator to pick up, yet it was soothing. The Zenora tilted its head again, then turned and slithered away, disappearing into a crevice. What just happened?" Kayla stammered, feeling adrenaline and something almost like awe racing through her. Silax's antennae twitched in what might have been amusement. "It asked if you were dangerous. I assured it that you were, but meant no harm for the moment. He tilted his head, studying her. Perhaps there is hope after all, Kayla. Not easy hope, but hope nonetheless. A wave of exhaustion washed over her. This was far more emotionally draining than she'd imagined. Yet, a peculiar sense of satisfaction settled in her gut. It was a small victory, one built on her own human form. Maybe being called dangerous wasn't a label she needed to run from. Perhaps it was a starting point for something different. "Thank you, Silax," she said, surprised at the sincerity in her voice. I think I'll take that hope, limited as it is." The walk back to the administrative complex was far more pleasant. Kayla's heels no longer seemed so irritating, and she hummed an old earth tune under her breath. Silax walked beside her, his antennae twitching at the unfamiliar sound, yet he made no move to stop her. As they neared their destination, he finally broke the silence. "I will make my case to the board, Kayla. It will not be easy, but at least now there is something to support my argument." He offered a tentative smile, a strange sight with his mandibles and soft eyes. "Perhaps you are not entirely an unsettling influence after all." Kayla smiled back, a genuine warmth spreading through her. "Perhaps I'm just getting used to being a monster." Her voice had a note of challenge, but also acceptance. "Or perhaps," Silax trilled softly, "you're proving that monster and human may not be as similar as we believe." The administrative complex loomed ahead, sterile and unwelcoming after the vivid habitats. Silax stopped her at the door. "I can take you no further, but know this, Kayla. You have shown me something valuable today." Kayla nodded, meeting his gaze with newfound determination. "Thank you, Silax. I might do the same for your board, even if they never let me back in that zoo." She held out her hand again, a simple human gesture. After hesitating, Silax placed two of his own in hers. It was a fragile and tentative connection, but it was a connection nonetheless. With that, Kayla turned and walked through the door, ready to face her next assignment. Hey, space travelers! Thanks for blasting off with Rocket Ship Radio. We hope you enjoyed this brief tour of an alien zoo. If you're ready to dive deeper into the rabbit hole of our amazing sci-fi stories, click the next video and prepare yourself for another adventure. If you want to help us out, please hit the like button, subscribe, and activate that notification bell so you never miss an interstellar transmission. Don't forget to leave a comment below. Tell us what kind of sci-fi tales you want to explore in the future. And, as always, safe travels, adventurer.